building. We in the building. All right, y'all. We live from California. You know, this is my BrotherMan show, so. Say bad word correct.
Scoot over.
What bad word was this? You typed it in. It was incorrect. Yeah. Hey.
Sorry, Candace. Would I have to set up if I had that cord?
Yeah.
Is that too bright?
Nah, it's not good.
All right, well. Hello? I'm kind of boggled.
You know, y'all, we live from Cali, man. I'm here with the BrotherMan, y'all. Like I say, we breaking bread for the first time in person. As you know, since I've been here, we have been building, and before I got here, we had some conversations. But you know, the BrotherMan also been on his own journey. You know, has been a part of the you know, the indoctrination that a lot of us have really been a part of, or even when we left the Christian church, we all fell into this identity, you know, which is what the Hebrew doctrine provide, identity. You know, and like I say, a lot of people might think we here to bash the Hebrews, but at the end of the day, it's more unifying if you taking it that way. But we're actually here unifying under the one truth. You know, because like I say, we have a lot of manpower, we have no unity and we have no order. And that's why we have different sets, different chiefs, different groups. You know, and so that's basically what we're here to do, y'all. You know, break bread, edify you in many different ways about the indoctrination that's coming from, Christianity first, then we left the Christian church and went into a Hebrew doctrine. And that really put iron, yokes on our neck. So they're a little hard to get off. But as you can see, the Spirit of the Father is bringing many of us together from many different walks of life to bring that image to you, to reveal to you why, this is that time where the Spirit and truth is in the earth. So I'll let brother introduce himself, and we're gonna start the good conversation, y'all, the good breaking of the bread. We're gonna give y'all a chance to witness this.
Peace. I'm your brother, Saint Zammar, witness of the Messiah, Christ Yah Jew. So just want to introduce on the channel. This is the Messiah, my head, and we're revealing prophecy and everything that was to come to pass, and dividing the holy things from the scriptures, and giving you the truth of prophecy and edification on what is real and what is fake. So, we're living in those times in the last days, and it was prophesied that the Messiah would raise from amongst his brethren, from amongst the people. But for so long, there's been many lies and religions that have made it to where people have a vain imagination of what they think and how they think God is supposed to show up, or the Son is supposed to show up. But he's the Son of Man, the Son of God. So it's prophesied that he would raise amongst his brothers in the last days to bring order and bring the government of God and bring the kingdom of heaven on the earth. So here he is in the flesh, the Messiah, my King, Yah Jew Judah.
So yeah, y'all. So we basically we plan to have an organic talk. Nothing really that's being written down or something we actually just put together. We really actually came up here to have an organic conversation and bring some spiritual understanding to a lot of the common things that we might take when they really supposed to be spiritual things. We could write a whole list when it comes to these things, because as you see, we put on clothes. We go with days of the week. We get on our knees. We got names, images, all these things, the more dictate how we worship God, how we go about looking at God. And like I said, you got to have the thought first, because if you thinking just putting on clothes is righteousness to God, you got a long way to go. So if you think a certain day is set aside for you to do a certain act for God, you got a long way to go. And once we get the correct thought of these things, and that's why we always say there's no lie without the truth. So we understand that it is garments you have to put on. We understand it is a Sabbath day. It is a marriage. But we got to understand the spiritual side of these things, because we know God is spirit. So we dealing with this law and we dealing with this word. We're dealing with what? The spirit. The law is spiritual. And it's going to take spiritual edification to give us life. And as we always bring the scriptures out, the letter kills. This letter, because the imaginations that you get from the letter, when you read it, it can kill your thoughts. It can kill your spirit. And so when you get the spiritual edification, that comes from the spoken word, it gives life. Speak life.
So when people are reading the scriptures, can you more so expound on why really people don't really have the ability to interpret, and why the scriptures talk about private interpretations? Can you expound on why people are not supposed to go with their own private interpretations?
Well, we was just explaining that to later today about how the Bible is the will of God. And when we say these things, some people might not hear it the way they need to hear it. You know, but it might need to be said slow, like the Bible is the will of God. And if you don't take it as the will, you take it as the word. You know, and even when you, anything that you read, you have to interpret it if you don't have the interpreter. So when we read Moses' book, we don't have what? Moses.
Right.
You know, we read Isaiah book, we don't have Isaiah. So if this book is Isaiah book, then Isaiah is the interpreter. But if we ain't got Isaiah there to interpret it for us, then we become the private interpreter. You know, and now people might ask me, well, I'm the teacher. Well, why you read the Bible? Well, I come in fulfillment of it. Now, we can clarify that the prophet Isaiah, the prophet Moses, they wrote about someone coming to fulfill, not interpreted. You know, so even the unsealing of the scriptures, as the scriptures let us know in Isaiah 29 and 11, and even in Revelations chapter 5, that the book is sealed. And even Daniel, until the last days, until the one is raised up to fulfill what was written, coming in the volume of the book. But everybody else is coming in a private interpretation. And that's the confusion. And that's the understanding. Excuse me. That's the understanding of the private interpretation of scriptures.
So basically, you're saying that the Bible or the books are prophecy of what's to be fulfilled, and they're mostly visions and prophecies. But people read the book when they're not supposed to, because it's supposed to be interpreted by the Son of God, right?
Correct.
And people read these scriptures and through their own imagination and then teachings and then doctrines, they get a false idea of how things are really supposed to play out. Then they throw dates on the Bible, dates on the prophecies, and then people get mixed up in when certain prophecies are supposed to happen when they're being fulfilled. Right?
Right, can't see.
So they can't see. So now that makes it to where organically, in the way things are actually supposed to happen, people have a false image in their mind how they think it's supposed to happen. So now when it really happens, you can't recognize it because your mind is in what, Hollywood, or your mind is in a fairy tale, you know what I'm saying, type of way. Vain image, vain imagination. So that's what it means to cast down vain imaginations. You know, your own imaginations of how you think God was going to show up. What you think when you read in the scriptures. But it tells you, no one was worthy in Revelations to unseal the book or unseal the seals, meaning the understanding. So this is why the prophecy of one coming to unseal the book, which is from the line of the tribe of Judah, and he's just Christ is just a title, but this was going to be a man like us that was raised up amongst us to bring us the truth from God, because he was born of God, and this is he, the Messiah, Yahju. And so I just wanted to clarify on what you were saying to make sure that I understand, and the viewers understand, is that the book is a bunch of visions and prophecies that are being fulfilled in an organic way, but because people have a vain image of how it's supposed to happen or that it already happened, they can't recognize the real thing as it's happening.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we say volume, because I heard you say fulfill. So when we say volume, what do you do when you doing a volume of something? Don't you what? Fill it up?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people just interpreting scriptures. They're not filling the book up. They're not coming in the volume up. They're not fulfilling. Fulfilling is to fulfill. And that's what volume is. Christ come in the volume of the book. And like I say, that's the separation. You know, that's the one that was separated from his progenitors. So that's the Joseph story. And like I said, that's the, when we go into all these mysteries, the allegory teachings, you would say, which is the mysteries of a story. It's the allegory is the secret of the story. It's not more it's hocus pocus or we just making something up. No, it's the secret meaning of the story, which would be the teaching. You know, and that's really what the spirit part shows you. You know, really help you understand. So it can cast out your vain imagination. You know, because if you don't cast them out, as my brother man say, you will be blind to what God is actually doing. You know, with the spirit of truth. Not with what you interpreted. Most people think God's supposed to come back just like they interpret the scriptures.
So, for example, like, can we get some like examples of vain imagination? So, in my mind, I'm thinking like, for instance, where it says that one coming in Revelations with a sword in his mouth on the clouds, right? With a sword in his mouth, you know, with many crowns, a name written on his thigh that no man knows but he himself, which is his image, which is like him, what he's saying, what he be speaking, how he be moving, right? So, vain imagination, perfect example. And then I don't know if you want to give one first or
no, go ahead,
okay. So yeah, so vain imagination, one coming with a sword in his mouth, on the clouds from heaven. So not understanding that, like King was saying, allegory. Some of these things are allegory, meaning it's a secret meaning to what will be happening organically. What will be happening organically in the end times. So in the end times, the Son of Man, the Son of God, who was going to be raised amongst us, meaning from the earth, not coming from the sky, but because you read in the scriptures and not being able to interpret it, you read about clouds and about him coming in the clouds, and you automatically think that this is some deity coming from the sky. But it was just a parable telling you about what the Son of God would be doing in the last days. So him coming with the sword in his mouth, this is a perfect example of vain imaginations, because everybody thinks it's a man coming out the sky with a literal sword in his mouth, when the sword is just representing the truth of God, the thoughts of God coming from his mouth, the judgment, him casting down all lies, turning water into wine, which is turning the lies into truth. So he would be speaking the truth, slaying all lies. So otherwise, if you don't understand what that means, tell me the literal reason why there would be a sword in a man's mouth. There's no point for that. Why would there be a literal sword in a man's mouth? So you got to understand that these are parables. These are secret meanings of what will be happening. So what's your thoughts on that?
And since you mentioned the water or wine, because that's what people ask me sometimes, turn the water into wine. But just as my brother man said, that mean turning the lies into the truth. So we got this old saying we hear through the grapevine. Why do you think we say these things? Now we also got what? Christ stomping the wine press. How do you, in ancient days, the way they made wine, they stomped it with their feet, in a wine press. So if the lies was coming from the grapevine, then someone had to take that watered down information that was coming from the grapevine and make new wine with it. That's the whole meaning of Christ stomping the grapes, or being what the word is, the wine presser.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that represents, the wine presser. But it all goes back to simply saying, turning the lies into the truth. And that's what the meaning of hearing it from the grapevine, and you got Christ stomping the grapes, making new wine. The garments dipped and rolled in blood from the wine press.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a parable. And the whole meaning of the parable is the lies is being turned into the truth. But if you literally think about a man stomping a wine press and making wine, then you literally gonna be looking for glasses and bottles. It had nothing to do with glasses and bottles. So it's just something. I got water in my books downstairs.
Another example of vain imagination on the wine and water. A lot of Hebrews, a lot of people think that that Christ, when he would come, which is the title, Christ is a title. You know, so another vain imagination. The Son of Man coming with a name written that nobody knew but he himself. So if he was coming in another name, he wouldn't be coming in the name that's written in the book that describes him, which is what, like Jesus,
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, those names.
Yeah.
Were written in paper.
Yeah. So everybody's looking for things to happen literally, which is tripping them up from seeing the truth. So they can't recognize the Son of Man because they got a deity idea of the Son of Man in their minds. So they won't recognize the real Son of Man. But ways to recognize the Son of God when he's here, which will be in the last days, is the one who's being rejected. So the Son of Man is not going to be loved. He's going to be rejected. He's going to have an image, a slain image that people don't want to receive and accept. How he moves, how he talks, how he operates. They got in their mind that he's supposed to fit a character in their mind, and that's ridiculous. He was going to come how he comes, you know, and he's here. He is he. You know, so examples of these vain imaginations, you know, putting new wine into new bottles. What does that mean? Like putting wine into new wine into new bottles, not old bottles.
Yeah, you don't do that because you're gonna mess up the wine. The wine that you made can't go with the old wine. That's why you can't bring your imaginations into the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go together, they don't mix. And that's basically, you know, that's simply what is all it's saying. You know, you can mix them. So you get a new bottle to put new wine in. You know? And like I say, y'all, you know, understanding what dividing the waters mean, understanding why Moses parted the Red Sea, you know, because information, you could constantly get information, you know, but you would never find land. You know, the only people that don't find land are animals that live under the water. We don't live under the water, so we want to find land. We don't want to be on water all day. You know, so information can be a whole bunch of water, and you will never rest because you will forever be in the information. So we got to divide these things. You got to divide the holy and common. That's basically what we're doing with the spiritual teachings. Both the spiritual teachings help you divide. If you don't receive the spiritual teachings, then you will never divide. You will constantly be getting. That's why people are always going back to the Bible. How many times you read the Bible? 3, 4, 5 times. And you still ain't got it? So I mean what? Either when you look for something, you never find it. You one of those kind of people? Or you one of these people that look for something and you gotta keep looking and you never find it? Or you somebody that when you look for something, you find it. But all these people over the years have looked in this book and never found nothing. They keep going back. So it's like water. They never land. They never rest. You know, and that's what the truth was going to bring, because it was going to help you divide. You was going to be able to see. You know, and this is why we bring forth these spiritual teachings, y'all. You know, and like I say, these things, this is a priest's job to divide the holy and common.
Another example of imagination, which is why you know, a lot of people are not ready to accept that the Messiah is here, the Son of God is here. It's because when you have a vain imaginations, you read the scriptures, and you're not really supposed to. You're supposed to wait for the shepherd, the one who was coming as the Son of Man. So when you read the scriptures, you read that a kingdom is coming, New Jerusalem, or a kingdom is coming from the sky, right? And you read that. So I've met lots of people, been around brothers that actually think a building is floating out the sky.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I done heard, man, we done heard some stuff.
Right. No, I'm not realizing that this city or this building, the kingdom of heaven doesn't come by observation. Meaning you're not going to see it floating out the sky. This is something that's being built with the Son of God in the saints on earth. The government, which is under the Son of God who would come, to establish this government, which is bringing God's kingdom to the earth, bringing this heavenly state to the earth. So it's basically telling you, a city coming out the sky is telling you that soon as Christ is here and forming this government, he's going to bring this kingdom, the mindset of God, to the earth. And this is the government that's being formed organically as he's here, as he's gathering the saints, gathering the chosen, the priesthood. So that's your city coming out the sky. And then they form this this government throughout the earth. So that's just an example of vain imaginations. There's not an actual city coming out the sky.
A new heaven and new earth. How do we get a new heaven and new earth? You know, the old heaven and first heaven was removed. How do you remove heaven? How do you remove heaven? Do God just do God really got fingers? Do a spirit got legs? Do a spirit got fingers? So so how do heaven be removed? You know, now it's crazy how the devil can control hell. You know, so we know heaven is a mind frame. So once your mind is changed, then you got a what? You got a new mind, you got a new heaven. That's why heaven was going to be on earth. Where we at? We on earth. We're not in the sky, y'all. We on earth. So if heaven going to be on earth, it's because we have changed our minds. And we on earth. So it's going to be a new heaven and it's going to be a new earth. Ain't we a part of earth? We part of earth, y'all. So once our minds change, then you have this new heaven and new earth, which is what Revelation talk about.
Right.
You know, so like I say, if you thinking heaven is in the sky, you get there after you die, like I say, that's not even the biblical teachings. And that's why I always say we the first generation to actually read the Bible as a collective and not just sit there and listen to people. Because like I said, with cell phones, we was the first generation to get the Apocrypha. We was the first generation to get the Apocrypha. As a collective. I'm not talking about, a certain group of people got to know. We all got the Apocrypha. You know, so we are the first generation to actually read the scriptures. That's why this is a generation that's really going to, well, we always talk about this is a generation that's going to fulfill prophecy. We understand that. But this is showing you how, why this is a generation to first read the Bible. You know, and a lot of us don't really look at it that way. And a lot of people is holding on to their vain imaginations, coming into reading all these other books. That's creating, like I said, that iron chain. Now the vain imagination is more real. They out there putting all these things on their arms. They got ram horns now. We got everything now. We going back with staffs in our hands. Man, we doing everything in our what? Vain imagination. We got candlesticks. You see what I'm saying? So, you can see how we just going back into something and as a collective, but with vain imaginations.
So what is the real Sabbath? Like, because a lot of Hebrews, a lot of people think that it's a physical day that we keep. But once again, these are spiritual teachings, right? Spiritual teachings of a spiritual meaning, not literal. So when it talks about the letter killing, the letter gives you, if you read it according to a storybook, you're not getting the real teaching. So that's why there's an interpreter, which is the Son of God, which is Christ, the one coming from the tribe of Judah. He's supposed to interpret these things for us, giving us and bringing us that real bread from heaven. So what is the meaning of the real Sabbath? Because there's a lot of camps keep saying the Sabbath is on Wednesday, saying the Sabbath is on Saturday, Friday, Sunday. You got churches saying, it's really Sunday. It's Babylon. Everybody is babbling. It's like you don't know what to believe. So there's got to be one mediator to clarify these things for us. There's got to be.
And I always point one scripture. I know now these days we got Tanakh, we got Torah, we got people don't even believe in the New Testament. But I always bring the scripture and say the Son of Man is Lord of Sabbath. So just as my brother man said, the mediator, the Lord, the one that oversees the Sabbath day. Now, this is not a day that you put on the calendar because this is a time where the truth is going to be given to you. This will be the day that the Lord has made. So if you rejoice in this day that the Lord has made, then you will be keeping God's Sabbath. That's how you keep it holy. You accept the holy information that gives you rest. So you're not to and fro seeking information. You're not going to be joining this. You're not going to be joining this. You're not going to have to read this and read. You're going to know the truth. You rest. That's God's Sabbath rest. You know, you rest forever. But that's why I say when Israel profaned the Sabbath, they profaned the prophets that God sent to them to give them rest. Those are the Sabbath days that Israel broke. And that's why the prophet Isaiah talked about get rid of your Sabbaths. Because our forefathers didn't keep God's Sabbaths. They created their own Sabbath. So even in the book of Isaiah say, get rid of your Sabbath days, get rid of your new moons, get rid of your calling of assemblies. Because these are your callings. So the Sabbath day was a day when you was going to receive the truth and you was going to never have to look for it again. You was going to know the truth and you was going to be set free. That was God's Sabbath. And that day was going to come from God and the Spirit, which is God. You know, that's how the Sabbath was going to be ushered in, which is being ushered in and people are resting in the truth.
So people are taking camps, Hebrew camps, religions. People are taking these scriptures and reading the letter as if we're supposed to be literally doing things when they don't really understand the true meaning of what it's saying.
Correct. Because as we said earlier, no private interpretation.
So what is the book of Genesis, like, you know, Adam and Eve? What does that represent? You know, because what does that represent?
Well, when you deal with the book of Adam and Eve, you're dealing with the priest, the priesthood. You're dealing with Moses teaching about the priesthood. The Adam, which is the flesh, and Eve, which is the spirit that deals with the flesh. You know, it's not a story of man and woman, as we've been told. The first man and first. That's why they was the keepers of the garden. You know, so the whole Adam and Eve story was a teaching about, and that's why we have the second Adam, the second coming of all these things that Moses was really prophesizing about. How the first we fell was man of the flesh, and then you're gonna have the spirit, man rise.
So wait a minute. So you're basically saying that the book talking about Adam and Eve is talking about our ancestors, and then talking about us, the seed of our ancestors in the last days.
Correct. Yeah, it's talking about the fall of our ancestors, how they was gonna fall. Yeah, and the rise.
So this is what it means when it says the angels that kept not their first estate. Then.
Correct. That's why it's the fall of man. If anybody go to the headings in the Bible, when you read Genesis, you're gonna say the fall of man.
Right.
But we go with the dates and the stuff that they have given us to throw us off. You know, but that's what these are teachings. Moses is not a history teacher. Moses is more of a prophet. You know, prophet Moses. And, you know, so these writings are, you know, prophetic teachings. You know, prophetic writings about the last days, which are in parables, which are teachings. You know, and we have taken them as stories. You know, when they are parables. And parables are stories, but it's allegory. And there goes that secret meaning again. You know, so the secret meaning of even the Adam and Eve is the priesthood. That's really the whole secret meaning. If you're not going to understand that foundation, then you won't be able to establish what you need to be established from the writings of Moses.
Wow. There you have it.
And that's how they got us, y'all. It gave us something we knew we was not going to be equipped to read. They would have been better giving us the book of Enoch first. You know, and like we talk about the Ethiopian Bible, like the Ethiopian Bible has the book of Enoch. You know, it has these books. And if the Bible come from Ethiopia, why not give us that version? Why give us the King James version? Why not give us the Ethiopian version, which is the origin of all this? Why not? Why not? Because like I said, you won't, you know, they planned this, they orchestrated everything that we put our hands on. But like I said, we the first generation that was able to pick up a phone and say, hey, I want an apocrypha. Amazon it to me. I want an apocrypha. Read it to me. We the first generation to be able to do these things. Grandma and mama couldn't do that. Grandma and mama couldn't hold no device in their hand and talk to her and say, apocrypha, read. 2nd Ezra chapter 14, read. we could literally say this. You know, so that's showing you how, like I said, this is a way advanced generation, but the only thing it's not being done. You can't leave Egypt without the waters being divided. But I don't think y'all heard me when I said that. You can't leave Egypt without the waters being divided. You know, so this is a dividing of the waters.
Right now.
You know, dividing the holy and common things. You know, and this is what the priest's gonna do. And this is why we up here. You know, and to show our brothers, because a lot of people, you know, try to shun the spirit, as the book even tell you. That's the whole point of they rejected Moses, they rejected the prophets. Who killed the prophets? Jerusalem, who killed the prophets? The ones that sent to you to gather. So it's written that the spirit is always crucified, rejected, and not heard. But you know, y'all, you know, like I said, that's why God is pulling us from everywhere. You know, you're gonna see a Muslim, a Christian, you're gonna see everybody talking this. To bring that image forth. To show you what? And these people gonna be Israel, because they're gonna be showing you what? God is real.
God is real.
Those are the people. Those are the people that overcame what? The angel of deception. The one that Jacob was wrestling with. The one that you wrestling with right now when we speaking to you. Because when we speak these things, you wrestle. That's why it's crazy when you tell somebody the truth, you're like, man, why I start talking the truth and everybody won't fight me? It's the wrestle. You know, so people are wrestling when they hear this truth. But have you overcame? But if you meek and humble, you should be able to see your brothers and sisters that overcame so you can overcome. That's the image of God.
So I heard you mention the Solomonic dynasty. Just for the viewers, what is the Solomonic dynasty, and how is it connected to Christ and you know, Ethiopia and the scriptures?
Well, even when you mention Solomon, I realized when I mention Solomonic dynasty, people don't hear Solomon. I just realized that, like, you know, because I'm always in my mind like, why people, you know, what would make somebody not hear this? I'm always thinking, even when I got it crystal clear, I'm always trying to sharpen something. So the more and more I say Solomonic, I realize many people, and I you know, I got a little slur. I'm from the South, so my speech don't come from English teaching. I'm not an English teacher, so I got project English now. I speak real good project English. You know, but when I say Solomonic dynasty, when I said that, I thought David was gonna be a light bulb. I thought light bulb, Solomonic, you know, but it wasn't. You know, and that's the light bulb, because you can't mention Solomon without David. That Solomon come from David. So without David, there's no Solomon. So this dynasty is connected to David. This dynasty is connected to David's throne. What throne does Christ sit on, if I'm not mistaken? David's throne. That's what Christ's gonna rule, on David's throne. You know, So, like, I don't even know how this is even an argument, but this is the argument. People argue this. So if we understood the Solomonic dynasty, which it was never told us, and that's why we take it like a grain of salt, because it was never told us. So since it wasn't told to us, then it ain't nothing. But it's everything when it comes to the vain imaginations that a lot of us live in. Because don't nobody talk about what David thrown at when they talk about the scriptures. But remember, Christ sits on David's throne.
So now that you said that, Christ sits on David's throne. A lot of people may be expecting you to actually see you sit on a throne, not realizing that Mount Zion or the Solomonic, dynasty, these are terms of, is it safe to say, status on the earth and status with God? What? Because like literally standing on a mountain or literally sitting on the throne, when this, the prophecy says that the throne of David shall never lack a man, right? So just kind of getting out of the vain imaginations and speaking on like, what does this mean? Because people literally want to see you sit on the throne.
And so when I do mention the throne, I say these things so when you do look it up, you can see the other governors. It's like a president's seat. It's like a White House seat. See, where you think all this stuff come from? It come from this dynasty, this biblical dynasty that wasn't taught to us. So the throne is just like the presidency. It's a White House. It's a certain position you get in God's government, God's army. You become chief commander. And that's what the throne of David is. Remember, Christ is the mediator for God. So who would be the chief commander of God's army? It wouldn't be your pastor. It wouldn't be the person that studied the scriptures. It would be who? The one mediator. Now, if you have got chief commands from the mediator, then you qualify to do what you're doing. Because why? You will be able to tell the people where your order's coming from, so where your head won't be covered. So when we talk about this throne, we talk about this mountain, we talking about somewhat of higher stature. Somebody you might look up to. But he might be shorter than you. But you might look up to him. But that don't mean he coming from the sky. These are all just terms. Like I say, so this, as we say, spelling words, this spell, vain imaginations is a spell. That's what a witch do. Show you a dream. That's what the devil do. Well, did America make you dream? So everything is a dream with the spell of words. But when you have a conversation is different. Because when I say pull up on me, you ain't gonna be looking for somebody to actually pull up on you or something like that. You're gonna be looking for somebody to pull up on you in a car. But if you was to read, he pulled up on him. I wonder what it means by he pulled up on him. Because that's when you're gonna get to imagine it. But if it was a conversation, that imagination is kind of taken away, and that's why God is voice. Wow. That's why God is voice. And that's why God said in that day, you will know it is I who speak. Remember, God don't write. God don't pick up a pen. God pick up vessels. And these vessels will speak for God. So when you're talking about this throne, y'all just talking about a government seat. That's why I say the government would be on his shoulders. And that's why when we speak about the Solomonic dynasty, when you look into it, you see governors, chiefs. You don't see somebody that's just far-fetched like, damn, I can't never be that. No, yeah, you can be that. You can be in God's army. And like I said, they just got us in hocus pocus land and gave us false images with false dates.
So is it safe to say that the rise of the Messiah, and then it talks about the clouds, him coming on the clouds, the the spiritual meaning of the sword in his mouth. He's coming with the truth. The clouds, coming on the clouds is him being lifted up, right?
Correct. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, when they read Revelation 1 and 7, which is, the verse where I say the clouds, people don't understand that is the time Christ is being lifted up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the time Christ is actually coming back from the sky.
Right.
That's why I say even those that pierced him. So, and that's why I ask people, if Christ was coming out of the sky, the people that pierced him would have to be on earth too. But this is actually a time where Christ is being lifted up by the cloud of witnesses. And those that have rejected him, those who have threw dirt on his name, they will see him being lifted up by these cloud of witnesses. Then the world gonna see who Christ is.
And the enemies, because the enemies are your step stool. So just like bad publicity is good publicity, the enemies are your step stool.
Yeah.
So our Messiah being lifted up, it's a process as he would be here, as he would come. He was chosen to be here in this time to raise up and to bring justice and to bring the government of God. So it's safe to say, right, that Christ rising up with those that are with him, the saints, that army, right? This is more so the Son of Man being lifted up to political power. Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
So political power, those are those crowns that you see when he's coming with the clouds and coming with the sword in his mouth. Said he had many crowns. This is the status. Safe to say that this is the status in the so the Messiah putting his foot on Mount what is it? Mount of Olives.
Yeah,
these are all spiritual meanings. It's not, you weren't literally going to see this. It was showing you what was going to happen in the last days with the Son of Man and what he would be doing. So he's going to be coming to form and build a government, which is the government of God. And he would be raised to political power. So this is what's happening right now. As you see Yahju, Christ, sit here. So this is the throne. It's a status. This is the Mount Zion. This is the government. This is the city coming out the sky. It's all about this being formed and built. So building the kingdom with the laborers that are very few is what is happening right now. This is what we're doing right now. This is what the Messiah is doing right now. He's already sent out the laborers. We're very few, but he sent them out. And building the kingdom by bringing you the truth, right? This is how the new heaven is going to come and the old heaven pass away. Because through the one who would be chosen by God to bring God's kingdom to this earth and all power given to him, that rulership, this is that political power. This is what you're reading about, what you don't understand, you take literally, about him, his foot touching the Mount of Olives. Or him coming on the clouds of heaven, which are witnesses, which are people that are lifting him up. And this is what's happening right now. Him coming with a sword in his mouth to give us the truth and cast down all lies that the Hebrew camps, the religions, people, everybody's telling. It's a bunch of lies, which represents the water. In Revelations that the beast sit up on top of. The beast is sitting on top of the water because the beast is controlling all the lies. Christ, or Messiah, never said that he was literally going to be walking on water. This was symbolic for Christ, our Messiah, walking over the information because he was the first one spit out the belly of the beast, which is the story of Jonas. So as it was with Jonas, it would be with the Son of Man in the last days. He would be the first one to be spit up out the beast, which is the first one born of the pure spirit of God, thoughts of God. And he would raise the other priest to bring you the truth. So this is us building the kingdom of heaven. So Christ is walking on water right now. He's raising up the priests. He's healing the blind. All right, he's healing the sick. He's getting the prisoners out of prison. The brokenhearted. I'm so joyful. Brokenhearted. I rejoice when I see the Messiah. I seen it. I know it. I see everything playing out. I see him fulfilling prophecy. So just want to put that out there. Christ is walking on water right now. Christ is turning water into wine. The water is the lies, the information, and he's walking over that because he's not drowning in it. He has the truth. He has the power to walk over the waters, like the beast is sitting on top of the water, because the beast has spread out the lies to all the waters, which are the many nations drowning in these lies. So now the truth is here. Our Messiah is here. King David sitting on the throne of David. He's here. He is he.
There's one scripture I show people, and I think that's in Amos, where it say, the day of Jezreel will be great. They will come up out of the land and will appoint one leader. When I show this scripture, people, and they, like I said, people just they hear certain scriptures and they say they so scripture based. When they hear these scriptures, they just go to something else. Without, where's our appointed leader? Well, where's the one that God have appointed for us? Like, this is what should humble people.
No, that's true.
If you ask somebody, where's the one of God appointed? Now, some people going to say he in the sky. Now, like I said, that's why we have a council. These are those people that need the counsel. They need to come to the doctors to get healed. We understand that. So we have the scriptures, we have all that to show you how the Spirit of God don't never bring nobody from the sky. To remove that vain imagination, to bring you to what? Now let's find our appointed leader. Whether you don't believe it's me or not. Say you don't believe y'all Judah is the appointed leader. Okay, now where is he? Now, when you tell me who their appointed leader is, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go see that leader. I'm going to go see what we can do to move forward. And this is what we're not doing, Israel. This is all we're doing.
But see, it says they shall appoint themselves one head. It says they. So I don't think people realize that the they is the house, the house of God, the house of David, the priest. So it doesn't take a lot of they. It just takes a few, right? So we're not talking about the whole world. So it can just be a small group of people from the house of David that appoint themselves, meaning they recognize that, the truth of God is coming from this man right here. Mm-hmm. Out of all these people talking, who was going to recognize the voice of God? Who was going to see this? Who was going to see God? The pure in heart. So the pure in heart are going to appoint themselves one head, because they know that this is God. God is in this vessel. So it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a few, and that's the they, to appoint themselves one head, and then everybody else will begin to flow to that mountain, Mount Zion, the mountain of God, right? So it's not going to say everybody's just going to agree one day that Yah-Jew is the appointed head. No, it's going to start with those that can see first, the witnesses. See, the witnesses is their job to see for you. You weren't chosen to see. So it's the witnesses' job to see, to tell you that the Son of God, the Messiah, is here, so we can lift them up. And as we lift them up, people are going to begin to flow to the mountain of God, and that's what you see happening. That's what's happening. So, with that said, I remember a scripture that talks about, I don't know if I got this correct, but one out of every nation shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew.
Oh yeah.
Is that pretty much saying of once they start to take, it says that I've heard that God is with you.
Yeah.
So
I go with you.
So the ones that are appointing the head are going to have to be those from the house of David, and doesn't have to be a lot of them. And then people are going to start hearing, and then they're going to flow to this.
Mm-hmm. All nations.
So appointing one head. We've done this already. We've done this. This is our head. This is the one whom we recognize the Spirit of God to be in. He's here, the Messiah.
A lot of people don't you know, they don't really understand either about yeah, I forgot it because I had that point I was trying to make you say earlier. Man, that was on the tip of my tongue, y'all. It slipped my mind. Yeah, about the wise men seeing the star. About the being blessed to see. Like the blessing of God right now in these days is to hear and see. So the wise men at the time of prophecy is going to be those that can see the star. If you can't see the star, you don't have the blessing. You know, but because we think we receive the blessing by putting on, again, garments, going to feast days that been set up by man and going to church, and we think a blessing is being bestowed upon us, but that's why the Bible say what? All my works are in vain. It's called dead works, working in vain. You know, so if you working in vain, then guess what your works are for? Nothing. You know, and most people working for God to receive, you know, the blessing, when the blessing is on, you know, those who are meek and humble, because they're the ones that's going to see and hear. You know, and they going to see the star. These will be the wise men. But we got all these wise men with no star. We got all these wise men with no head. You know, and that's what we are lacking. Because our star is our light. Our star is our guidance. You know, and that's the whole thing about prophesizing with your head covered. And a lot of people, that's another big topic, the vain imagination. Because right now we both got our head covered according to the doctrine, right?
Yeah.
Our head covered, you know, but, you know, our head is not covered according to the truth. You know, our head is actually uncovered. You know, and that's what, but again, you're looking for a head covering. You're looking for a physical head covering, you know, but it's not talking about a physical head covering.
And that never made no sense to me either, man. I just never said anything about it. Man, we was out there in the snow, and you know what I'm saying, I'm trying to put my hat on. Brothers around me like, hey man, take your hat off. I'm like, man, it's cold. It's like please. Because we going through scriptures, man, you gotta take your hat off. man, bro, man, that goes to show you. Vain imaginations are your own interpretations of what these things mean. Uncovering your head is a spiritual thing. It's to accept the one who is speaking for God, high priest. Every high priest is taken from among men, not the sky. No high priest ever came from the sky. So I'm just trying to reveal the organic, you know, process of Christ coming. It was not from the sky. He was to be risen from among regular men, sitting right here. High priest, taken from among men. That's what scriptures say.
And that Hebrews 5 is Hebrews 5 is a hammer, y'all. You know, because like I said, everybody is teaching about a high priest that's coming from the sky, not the one appointed as we read through every chapter in the book. Somebody is appointed from among the people, and now God said, well, I ain't gonna work that way no more. Let me bring somebody from the sky. You know, but in the same breath, God don't change. You know, so like I said, y'all, we just, like I said, the hearing, and that's what God is bringing us together for. You know, together we divide in waters like the time of Joshua. The Levites had to stand in the water. Israel couldn't jump in that water like the Levites. You know, only the men of war was able to get in that water, and we drying the waters up right now. The waters are being dried up so we can get to the other side. You know, so like I tell people, you know, if you're not a priest, don't get in the way, y'all. You know, this for the priest, this for our leaders that's actually leading us astray and leading our people to the slaughterhouse. We're not here to slaughter our people. We're here to help our people. We here to give life to our people. We here to give direction to our people. We here to care for the people. We're not here to slaughter the people. But we here to get rid of those that's slaughtering you. And that's why we're going to get rid of their information. You know, when truth is spoken, just like when light come in the room, darkness must disappear. So the lies are going to disappear as long as the spoken truth is in the earth. You know, and that's what we're seeing happening, y'all. That's what we are seeing happen.
Positive. I mean, we don't have to make it super long. Just so whenever, yeah.
I'm just flowing.
Just flowing.
I'm just flowing with you.
I definitely want to talk, like you said, more about the Zammar dynasty, like throne of David, and it being in Ethiopia. I don't know. I don't really have a lot on that.
Well, you might have to set that for another day. I just want to, something to have it in there. Like have that part, just in there really. Testimony. We could go into one day on a Tedros story.
Okay.
Something like that. We can go deep into the breakdown and, kind of like walk them into it. I could do that.
Something else I wanted to hit. Just trying to remember. Just paused. So. Oh, the diet.
The diet?
Yeah, like the Hebrews and people, think that the Levitical law is talking about what meats.
Yeah, they think the law.
It's talking about what type of meats to eat. What is it? Is that something that you think you can talk about, or?
Yeah.
Break that down. And what about the priests having different requirements other than like regular people? Like, because I remember you talking about, a righteous man can still be like, righteous without being part of the priesthood. So how, but priests have different requirements. So like, when it talks about giving to the poor, what does this really mean? Because it says, in the prophecy, it says, give to those that ask.
Well, the poor would be like right now, those who are lacking the truth, that would be the poor. It wouldn't be according to the standards of what we call poor.
Mm-hmm.
It would be those who don't have the truth.
So then there's no stipulation on whether you should give to somebody who's less fortunate than you or not. There's no stipulations on whether you give to them or not.
Well, yeah, that's like I said, that's righteousness. People who are not priests give to people.
What?
All day long, people who are not priests give to people.
Mm-hmm.
Help people out.
Right.
So like those are not a priest requirements to just give to the people. These things gonna be done naturally. If somebody needs something, you give. These are more like natural things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really. That's why I say the Bible is more the spiritual side of it, and not this carnal side as what we would take it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's using common things.
Right.
It's using common things to explain the unseen.
So a priest is not required to give to the poor, but naturally they're going to do that anyways by giving them the spiritual food.
Well, no, I'm not saying like that. I'm saying like because people seen other people give to the poor.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to explain something that you can't see, I use things in the earth to describe the invisible.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? It's like using common things to describe the invisible.
Right, but people are taking these things literally though.
Yeah, they taking it literally.
So I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, You know what I'm saying? So they can, so they can get it. It's like, and this is a specific question that somebody had, basically saying, well, if I'm not a priest and I'm just somebody from this tribe or just a regular person, am I required to give to the poor? That's what I was trying to.
Wait, it's not about it requires like it, but if you have, you give. If
Right.
you don't, you don't. You know, like
That's pretty much what I'm
you know, like yeah, like if you got it, you give it. That's the it's like that's the whole thing about being a G. Even the gangsters gave. So even when the kids seen that, if somebody gave you something, what you gonna do when you get older? You gonna give.
Mm-hmm.
So so it really has nothing to do with it just bringing principles into the parable, to the story of the spiritual meaning of it.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about that on camera. I'm just but thanks for clearing that up. So I got three more topics. So I was wondering, want to talk about like all these false messiahs, other messiahs, dying, or maybe what is sin? Talk about sin. Just to kind of just give like a little bit of everything on this first, type of video. Which one? Are all of them or just one of them? So I said all these other messiahs.
Well, I think the Antichrist would be good.
Okay.
Like that'll kind of touch on the Messiah, all the other messiahs.
Okay.
I think that'll be good.
Okay. Talk about the Antichrist.
No, yeah.
So the Antichrist. A lot of people think that a man was supposed to come, like just just one man was supposed to come and pop up on the scene, masquerade. Right, and this is the Antichrist. When what do you say on that? Because people don't read this. People don't understand that it's a system. It's many, right? That's what it says. It's many, but people still got in their vain imaginations that it's supposed to be some dude that pops up, going around, tricking people,
And that's why I always use the word anti, man. When you anti-fungus, when you anti, that means you without. And when you deal with, as the scripture says, many antichrists already out in the world. So the people that's out in the world, who are they without? What makes them anti-Christ? They are without Christ. But they are in the world, preaching and teaching the word of God without Christ. These are the antichrists that's already out in the world. So when most people think of antichrist as someone just proclaiming to be Christ. Oh, he's saying he's Christ, so you're antichrist. That's not really what an antichrist is. It's easy for you to recognize who a fake Christ is, but it's hard for you. It's easy for you to recognize someone that's proclaiming to be Christ and they not. But it's hard for you to just recognize a teacher of someone that say they're anointed by God. Because you got way more teachers that's teaching about God and Christ than you got those who saying I'm Christ. You can't come on here and name me 100 people that's calling themselves Christ. You probably can't name me 5. But you could name me hundreds of thousands of teachers about Christ and God. These are the many antichrists that's out in the world. Again, they are without Christ. And that's what a real antichrist means. Without Christ. That's what makes you anti.
So basically all those that confess not that Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, which is you say you got God with you, so why are you waiting on Christ then? Christ is supposed to come in the flesh to deliver the people, right? So Antichrist, like King said, Antichrist is many. It's already out. So it's not this man that's coming that everybody is waiting for. You know, some refer him to as the devil or, you know, whatever. I don't know. But the spawn of the devil is this Antichrist character. It's many. It's already here. And that's what the Son of God has come to fight. That Antichrist spirit is that mindset. That's why it talks about confessing the Son of Man in the flesh. He's fighting that Antichrist spirit of people who don't believe because they don't understand that he was supposed to come in the flesh, just like every other man has come through the womb of a woman, not in the sky. So everybody has a vain imagination. Everybody is living in a lie, waiting for some deity to come out the sky when he's already here. So that's the Antichrist spirit. It's people saying, no, Christ is coming or, from the sky or, whatever. They're not confessing him in the flesh. They don't understand that he was to come in the flesh, the high priest taken from among men. So that's what it says. The Antichrist is those that don't confess Christ in the flesh.
Christ is come in the flesh. And a lot of people say they confess because Christ has come already in the flesh, but how you gonna confess to something you're not even a part of?
But you haven't seen it.
Yeah, you ain't seen Christ in the flesh. So how you gonna confess to it? So you confess to the one among you, the one that God has appointed. That's the Christ that you must confess to.
And that's, I'm sorry.
And then, like I said, that's how they try to run away with the scriptures. I heard people twist that scripture around and then try to say, well, I do confess Christ came 2,000 years ago. You can't confess that. You wasn't there 2,000 years ago.
And that's why it says they shall appoint themselves one head, and then they shall come about the land. That's how you know it's a prophecy, because that ain't happened yet. The priest, God, and we ain't come about the land yet. So when it said they shall appoint themselves one head, this is the same as confessing Christ in the flesh and recognizing God, Spirit, in the man who is the Son of God, that God chose. But he wasn't going to come in a way that the whole world sees, because it says that he was coming as a thief in the night. So you didn't see him come from the sky because he came as a thief in the night. He ain't coming in the sky. Then everybody would see him. If he was, if everybody would see him, but it's not meant. That's why it says he's coming as a thief, because everybody ain't meant to see him. It's only few. So the ones that are ready, preparing themselves, spiritually sober. Bible ain't talking about drinking wine. It's talking about being sober in the last days from these lies, from this drunken state that you're in. You're drunk from the lies. So this is the Antichrist. Those that are drunk with the lies. All right, from the Roman Catholic Church. So,
television.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So they shall appoint themselves one head, which is what we've already done, because we recognize the Spirit of God in this man right here who was Yaju Judah, the Son of God. So this is the head. This is us uncovering our head. And this is confessing Christ in the flesh, because you see the prophecies being fulfilled around him. So everybody's not meant to see, but we see for you. So we're witnessing to you.
Yeah, if you can't digest that bread, like I said, you got to be weaned from the milk. These are things you have to be weaned from the milk, y'all, to receive the solid foods. And that's what we give our brothers and sisters at the end of the day. It's what we come together for. That's what we have made our sacrifice for. And that's what God has also prepared us for. We're equipped to fight the war. Like I said, if you wouldn't want to support God on me. You wouldn't want to be on God's team. You wouldn't want to be on God's side. These things you should ask yourself at the end of the day. Because, God is using fleshly vessels at the end of the day. All this is for God, who everybody say they what? They love. You know, so like I say, check yourself before you wreck yourself, y'all. It's a checklist. You know, it's the bread. So my brother don't have nothing, you know.
Prayer from heaven.
Well, I guess brothers and sisters, then, at the Father that circumcise y'all hearts and ears for the message. I know I don't really have any questions. We out, y'all. Peace, peace.
Grace and peace.